I'm so excited you guys are here today. I have a really special guest. His name is Shawn Gwaltney, and we met a couple months ago at the Conscious Investor Growth Summit out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Shawn was one of the speakers, and I was just amazed by his story. And he recently has a book that came out, Fear to Fortune. So we are going to talk to Shawn today, hear his story. He is a high school dropout and has literally like succeeded in so many ways in multiple businesses with his faith, his family, his real estate investments, all while having a totally different job, W-2 job in companies that he's run. And so I'm excited to hear and share his story with our audience. I think there's so many great tidbits of information that you all can take away as you're thinking through your journey and in real estate or entrepreneurship or whatever it may look like. I just think Shawn has a lot of really great experience. And also he's doing coaching, high performance coaching. So if you're thinking about taking yourself or your business to the next level, Shawn is a really good one to connect with. So Shawn, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. Thank you for taking the time. Do you mind sharing a little bit about your background, your story? You live in St. Louis. Tell us about your family. How did you get to this place that you're at today?
Yeah, well, good morning, Rebecca. Always great to have a conversation with you. We had a lot of fun in Idaho, and so it's funny how things go full circle sometimes, and here we are. So thank you for taking the time to have a conversation. So yeah, I'm just a regular guy in St. Louis, Missouri here, where we get a lot of interesting weather on a regular basis. You know, never know what tomorrow may bring, but I'm a husband of 30 years. So my wife and I just celebrated our 30-year anniversary. So she was up for one more. So we're playing that year by year as long as she can tolerate me. And I have four beautiful daughters I'm super proud of. So grown, and I have four grandkids now. So it's an exciting
Old enough
phase
to
of.
be a granddad. That's amazing.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, we started young. You know, we got married young. My wife was 19, so we're kind of an unusual one. But yeah, so here we are. But that's my story. My primary focus is on my family, but I love to help people. And this book that you mentioned was primarily geared towards that to help people find paths to freedom. And my background was in manufacturing and real estate, but really the real estate came along because the manufacturing business, I realized after so many years that there wasn't this great retirement package sitting there waiting for me. So all those business owners out there, you know what I mean. You know, when you're grinding, you know, year after year and trying to put money away and grow your business and build those things, you realize at some point, gosh, being a business owner means I'm going to have to save everything that I'm going to have in my future if I want to have some kind of lifestyle, you know, to be proud of, or that I can enjoy some things, travel, and do the things we all aspire to do. So that's really how the real estate was born out of that, which started in '05. And I just started collecting properties from there. It wasn't easy. I know you know part of my story, 2008, and everybody has one from 2008, unless you were a really lucky one. But it was super hard. It was a hard year. It just about, I just started buying some properties, and the manufacturing company really took a dive. And as a business owner, anyone knows that can be pretty scary, especially in my case, because it was my primary income and my wife didn't work. It was our only source of income. So I remember when the 30th contract for our manufacturing business dropped. It was a contract with Cintas. And, you know, people just stopped answering the phone and those types of things. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do now? And it was a buildup, but this massive stress and fear came over me on how am I going to survive? You know, I always say, you know, we all know, you know, fear stands for false expectations appearing real. So they're not really the now, they're the future. But still a very scary thing because you see what's coming potentially. So that created a whole new mindset of operation and what I had to do and the struggle. But I already had some real estate. And that was kind of the start of the whole story.
I love that. I love that. And you overcame that. I mean, you've come so far since all of those ups and downs. And it was family business too, right? Like you're working alongside of your dad.
Yeah, you know, I love my dad. We had in that day, family can be difficult to work with. So it was with my dad, and we were partners. So in '07, I was 75% owner. He was 25% owner. He was a huge help, and we had a good partnership, but he was smart, and he saw the writing on the wall and said, you know what? I'm out of here. I can't go through this. And, I need to protect my savings. And he was getting ready to retire in a few years anyway. So he left. And I'm like, thanks, Dad. Good timing. But, honestly, it was a blessing in disguise because it put the pressure on me that was needed for me to break through. We had to completely rebuild, restructure that whole business. So it was literally at the point where close the doors and just try to bandage your wounds, or make a decision, a conscious decision, to fight and trust that God, along with your effort, is going to bring you through. Yeah. And after some time, I had that mind shift to say, you know what, I've always been a fighter, so I'm not one that gives up easy. Mm-hmm. And obviously with a lot of prayer as well, praying that, God orders my steps or gives me some wisdom or helps me understand how to make forward steps, whatever it is. We literally rebuilt from the ground up. And, I always say, those who know my background, I'm a high school dropout, so I don't have a lot to fall back on. I don't have some big fancy education. And, I hate saying that because I don't like that about myself. I wish that I wasn't a high school dropout, but it is encouraging to some folks in a sense to say, look, I don't have anything special to offer. I just have a lot of grit, and I was willing to do the work. Yeah. And if I can do it, being that I have no education to fall back on, certainly anyone else can do it as well.
Oh, yeah, I love that. And you're very humble about what you've built. I mean, can you give us like a little snapshot of these companies and like your employee? I mean, share what you want, but I think you are pretty humble about all that you've built over the years. And I think our audience would probably be amazed to hear about what you've done, in that time frame.
Well, I appreciate that. I always hate, Rebecca, the braggadocious, type buildup. Yeah. I'll try to be as simple as possible. Yeah. So the manufacturing company, I'm retired from it. I do spend about 5 hours. I hold the seat of managing principal, which just means essentially I'm the oldest guy there. And, so all the international relations and stuff like that, I still dig into and manage. But my focus now is train. My goal in life is to do as little as possible. So I've learned to delegate, and that comes with a high propensity to train. So that's really what I do. But the company there is self-sufficient. We're super blessed. Morgan Stanley just valued the company at an 8-figure value. So really exciting for us because, in '08, we were starting at rock bottom again. Yeah. So it's been a real blessing. So now it takes care of several families who are there and the employees, along with, I still get a check from there too. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. But that was part of the conversation of, the book, where essentially it's like, hey, don't quit your day job. Mm-hmm. Had I quit that manufacturing company, gave up, and just gone into real estate, it could have been really tough. But I didn't. I started the real estate with the income from my day job. So I had a less risky road to travel. So that was the process. But in the real estate side, I just started buying single families at first. I love real estate. I'm a tool guy at heart. So, I love tools, and I have just about every tool you can imagine. Obviously not every tool, but I have a lot of tools. And I love working with my hands. My greatest value as a businessman, of course, to maintain the lifestyle that we've got used to. So I enjoy building business as well as building furniture, building things with my hands. It's just kind of how I'm wired. So the real estate, as we went, I just kept stacking single family homes. And we did a lot of flips and different things in between, but we kept all the majority of houses along the way. And in the book, if you've got to that part yet, we talk about switching them to a 15-year mortgage for rapid payoff. Yeah. And wow, was that ever a blind blessing, so to speak? Here this kid with no finance degree or real information, just punching numbers and trying to do the best that I could. Yeah. It really set me up for freedom. Now those properties are all paid for. So I have a large portfolio of single family here in St. Louis. And I have, I'm invested in about another 72 million in multifamily spaces, in partnerships throughout. So it's been a true blessing. But the single family, now the multifamily, of course, those are partnerships. The single family all here in St. Louis, those are all mine. They are all mine, and they are all paid for. And it's such an amazing compound effect
Yeah.
that if you just step in and start, that it can create a future you never could have dreamt of, which is what my family gets to enjoy now through early retirement and a supplement income that I'm not punching the clock for or selling my time for. So,
Yes.
because time is essentially, that's my message now. Time, it's very limited. It's so limited, and you're not going to get it back. So you better choose wisely on the early side to do the work while you have more energy, and you want to get to a point where at that point in a young person they have more time than they have money.
Mhm.
But later in life, if you're doing things right and you're pressing in, you'll end up hopefully with more money
Yeah.
than you do time, and you start using your money to buy yourself more time.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, real estate is just such an incredible vehicle to be able to do that, and it is a longer road and it's not immediate gratification. They always say, like, don't
Yeah.
wait real estate, buy real estate and wait, like it's a process. But I think you're so smart to do it in conjunction with your W-2 or with your company, as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, business owner. A lot of people out there, I think, really are set on, well, if I buy a few more properties, then I can quit my day job and to just go be an investor. And it's a
That's the message.
work. I know that's the message. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of risk involved, a lot of stress that comes with
Yeah.
that. Not to mention, like, it's a whole lot harder to get loans when you're an entrepreneur and you don't have that W-2 behind you. I mean,
For sure.
it's a struggle. And so I think it's important to think about, like, hey, if I'm really good at something, like you running a business, like, stick to what you're good at, and then there's other avenues to buy, and buy slow. Like, it's not a massive, like, we've got to go buy 100-unit portfolio today or this year. We can go buy one or two properties every year, and that's just going to build and build and build. And I will say, I mean, from my personal experience, we have our own portfolio here in Lynchburg. Some of those properties are doing better, those singular or duplex, triple, whatever, than the bigger multifamily deals that we
Right.
got into as an LP. Like, years ago,
Yeah.
we joined a couple LP investments that are not distributing right now, and that's
Mhm.
that's tough. And so I like having some of that control, and taking advantage of that time that you have been given by God. How do you put it to use and still use your skills in your job, but do this, on the side, and it does just compound. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you made a great point. So what I hate is when you give your message and people look at you after, 30 plus years in business and they say, well, gosh, he just had a golden touch or whatever else. No, that's not it at all. It was work that started with one. It started with one. So when you hear these big numbers that, people in the braggadocious, I have X amount of this, I have, $1,000, whatever, $10,000, whatever it is. I don't give a rip about that. The truth is, look, you don't have to hit that status. If you choose to keep chasing that, fantastic, good for you. Do whatever fulfills you in what you're driven to do once you get into that.
Yeah.
But you can buy as little as one, and it can change your life if you're punching the clock, or not necessarily, figuratively speaking, but if you're working for a day job per hour essentially, and collecting a check. If you just bought one, kept your day job, that can dramatically change your future. And I give some gentle numbers in the book that basically shows, look, I made well over $500,000 and I didn't do anything. I just bought a house and I
Yeah.
figured it out as I went, which it's not as hard as you think, but you have that safety net of keeping your W-2,
Yeah.
and you have some income that, like you said, the bank can see.
Yeah.
But people always say, where do I get money? There is money everywhere. It's all over the place. But you have to hunt for it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you're willing to do a little bit of work and really step in and break through that fear barrier, which is really the crux of every new level that people are trying to break through, it's always rooted back to fear. There's
Yeah.
never a conversation. There's never a conversation on a coaching call that we can't navigate back to find clarity of what the pinpoint fear is that it really is, because it's always fear based.
Yeah.
We just don't always understand it that way. And
Mm.
when you discover that and you step in, man, it's a powerful way to live the life God really intended for you to live and prosper. He calls us to be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
And so if you're sitting on the couch and you're bored or depressed or anything else, it's because you're not doing enough. It's
Yeah.
because you're not exercising the energy, the time, and everything else that fulfills you and gets you excited about the day to day. You need to do more. And
Yeah.
then the compound effect happens, and you wake up one day and you're like, wow, because I stepped in, there's
Yes.
something so much greater that my family, myself, you get to enjoy just because of a step that happened way back, maybe, 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But had you not done that,
Mm,
it's a completely different life.
absolutely. Yeah. Our steps today really do dictate what our tomorrow and our 20 years from now, all those things. I mean, like you said, do the hard things early on. It will
Yeah.
have such big dividends for your life and your family and your future, your stress, your health. I mean, in so many areas, we're big here at Tailored Investments on not just investing in our finances and real estate specifically is what we love, but we're really focused on how do we invest in all areas of our life? Like how do we
Yeah.
prioritize our health? How do we prioritize our family and our faith and giving back? You know, I think you can make millions or billions of dollars and be the most unhappy person in the world.
Doesn't even matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at the end of the day if all the rest of your life has gone to crap, you know? So
Yeah.
how do you make that a priority? So I would love, let's talk more about your coaching. How did you get into that? Like, did you have a coach and then what brought this about and what are you doing with people now?
Yeah, so great question. I've had a lot of coaches, a lot of mentors, and it's funny because I tell people all the time, if you were able to see my library, you'd see where the majority of my coaches and mentors come from.
Mm,
Because obviously, as a young person, I wouldn't be able to afford or have access to some of these high level coaches, who are high performance, and they may charge six figures for the contract to coach you for a while. Well, you can get them for about 12, $15. And they're all over Amazon.
yeah.
So that's really how I started. And along the way, I always love to help people. And if there's something I know that someone's inquisitive about, then I enjoy, having those conversations. Not only within my family, which I've kind of coached them, and they're pretty strong in the real estate side and the work ethic and everything else. They're on a trajectory for massive success that could blow past where I am because they had somebody speaking into their lives early. I didn't have that. And I don't say that as a poor me thing. It just, I had to figure it out on my own. So the books really were what gave me the catapult. And then it was really, when I decided, I made a decision. And I always say a decision is completely different than a choice. A choice gives you options, and options, you're always going to take the least route of resistance, right? So, yeah, when you make a decision, though, it's you drew a line in the sand, and that's that. So then you set your path, and what do we need to do to implement this or move forward? So for me, it was, I can't even count how many people, electricians or different trades working along the way, were guys who I liked and were nice guys and did good work. And they're like, man, I wish I could just go into business for myself. I'm like, well, why don't you? And it's always fear. It's, I'm not sure I can pay the bills. I'm not sure I can do this. So I started pushing people because I could see their potential. And, I always say it's easier to read the label on the bottle from the outside looking in. So it's easier for me to see where somebody's potential is than what we can see looking out of ourselves. And that's powerful because that's really what it's about. And coaches and mentors, they do just that. They extract the greatness out of you and help expose what you just don't know, but is right there in front of you.
Mm.
So that was kind of my path. And then I just kept doing it over the years. And at some point I thought, maybe I ought to actually officially do this.
Yeah.
And it's just a passion of mine because I love helping people grow. I worked with some folks from the Conscious Investor Summit that we were both at.
Yeah.
And one of the gentlemen there, we mapped through, he was in a big challenge of his business and his marriage, and that, those things intertwine quite a bit when most people think, no, that's my business life. Well, that's not true.
Yes.
Everything you do in business is affected by your personal life as well, and how much energy, how much drive you have, how much support. It's important. So we had conversations around all that. He sold his business, was super excited, and is on a different path, and left me a wonderful video with tears, and his whole family saying, how free they felt. It wasn't that I did anything. It was just, I could see by hearing what he was saying, what he couldn't see because too many emotions and challenges and roadblocks block that. So really, that's a passion of mine. I love to help people grow. And, people have such massive potential. But again, it's easier reading the label on the bottle, looking from the outside in than it is from the inside out.
That's so good. That's so, so good. And I liked you said in your book, I'm pulling it out. Stop asking people for directions to places they've never been.
100%.
I just,
Everybody has advice.
yeah, everybody has advice. And sometimes the people closest to you are the people that are going to hold you back the most. They just
100%.
see the potential. They've known you their whole lives or whatever, and they can't get past the things that they haven't experienced. So
Yeah.
you have to surround yourself with people that are further ahead, and that have they're going where they're already at where you want to go. And I think that just is a testimony. Like, actually, Julie Holly was my business coach a couple years ago, and
Oh,
so
neat,
that's
neat.
how I met her, and that's how I ended up at
Yeah.
the conference, and I met you. And I mean, it's just like that's opened so many doors. She's been such a blessing and has just taught me so much. And I mean, she's rocking it, with the investing space, with her family, with her career. I mean, she's just doing some really cool things,
Yeah.
and she's helped take me to the next level as well. And so, but it was an investment. I mean, it was money, it was time, it was being vulnerable and opening
Yeah.
up and saying, I need help. Like, there was
Yeah.
tears in some of our calls. Like, I mean, you have to be willing to take that step. And so my husband actually, and I might have told you this, but he's also a business coach. And so I get to
Yeah.
hear him. I think he's on a call now. I get to hear him talking sometimes to his clients. And I mean, it is amazing. Like, sometimes he puts them in their place in a gentle way. But I love that. I love that we all need somebody like that in our lives that can help
Yeah.
us and guide us. And so you mentioned before we got on that, if we have listeners that want to learn more about you and your coaching, that they can set up a free 15-minute consultation with you. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So, I love meeting and partnering with quality people, and you're a quality person. So I enjoy the conversation, and I recognize that pretty quickly. So on those rare moments, I always offer to, hey, I can give you a 15-minute consultation for free. We'd love to have that conversation if it's beneficial to you. Just go to the website, and on our contact form, I think it says "Let's connect." But on that form, if you just send in the form and put in the description, Rebecca, we'll know where you came from, what it's about, and we'll allocate 15 minutes on the calendar and see if it's something that we can talk about that either helps you find direction or a next step, or maybe it's just you're curious about real estate and how to take the first step.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. If that's a resource that's beneficial to you, I'm happy to do it if it helps kind of move the needle.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's very kind of you. I know your time is valuable, so thank you for offering that. What typically with your clients, I'm just curious, do you have a set, here's 12-week like program we kind of walk through, or is it a little bit more free flowing? What does that look like?
There's a lot of variances to it. So my base package usually starts with the 3-hour package.
Mhm.
And really it's about, you can't just in 1 minute solve a lifetime of challenges or whatever, years worth of challenges in business. So usually we need to set a few steps, understand how you got there, and determine, hey, how do you get to a focal point to where you can start pinpointing what exactly the problem is? Because you have to expose everything and be really clear about what it is. It's always about finding clarity. So usually we're working towards the clarity point first. Then some of the follow-up time is more about, okay, what are our action steps? What do you really want out of life? What really fulfills you? So you're not working towards something that you're just stuffing more things or time into a void that's never going to fill up anyway.
Mhm.
So you're spinning your wheels or wasting your time. On the other side, we do some training to help people understand how to wrap their mind around fears. Because again, if you really, when you dissect it, 99.9% of it is some fear, worry, doubt type thought that's holding you back. So we want to know what that is. So I'll have stuff for you to read, study. That's kind of program based. We have an acronym for fear to understand how you work through and press through fears. Something that gives you the tools to break through time and time again. So it's not a hey, you need coaching for life. It's oftentimes just you need a little bit of a foundation and understand what this looks like. And the reason I have some of that information is because I've dealt with it. I've had that for a long time and had a lot of fear and lived in a scarcity mindset. And when I broke through that barrier, life changes because all of a sudden you wake up and you decide, hey, it's time for me to play the hand like they were the cards I always wanted.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you for sharing that. So I mean, it sounds like you've done so much and you started young, like you were making good choices early on. Is there anything you would do differently? You would change back in 2000, early 2000s or
Oh
whenever
gosh.
you started?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have worked as hard. I missed a lot of my kids growing up. And because I was so much in that, and this is why I'm so passionate about the whole fear topic, which most people think, oh, I'm not scared. Well, you don't know what you don't know oftentimes. And it's very relatable. And it's the 99% of CEOs' greatest struggle in business is fear of failure or fear of the unknown. That's not Shawn. That's a study that was released independently. So it's a big, big deal. And there are tons of things, obviously, I would do different. But I look at it like this, Rebecca, because I'm a person of faith. So I look at it like, I wish I could have done this, this, and this different, and I'd be a different person. But would I really? Because God knew from the get-go what I needed to go through to be where I am today. And would I have the same blessings or not? I don't know. So this journey is really about walking in trust, but the Bible talks about ordering your steps and God will bless your steps. But if you don't step, there's nothing to bless. There's no magical blessing that comes to life. It's the action that you're taking. And if you're not a person of faith, that's okay too, because it still applies. You have to take action. I just like to give the glory to God and say, that I'm thankful that he's blessed me in so many ways. Because, going through that time, I neglected my wife, my family in so many ways because I had that fear of going broke. We were super poor starting out. And I didn't want to be that way. So I thought that, that's what I had to do to survive. Truth be told, you don't. And I didn't have a coach or a mentor or anybody to speak into my life to tell me otherwise or to expose some of that because all I had was what's right here, just me. So it's singular. So it's really a powerful component to look back. Now I'm grateful for all the junk in my past, so to speak, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it truly is what has shaped me to be able to speak into people's lives and help them, which is what I'm really passionate. And that fulfills me is to help people grow. So had I not gone through all that, had I not, dropped out of high school and had all those challenges and been the rebellious teenage kid and always in trouble and that kind of stuff, I don't know that I'd be here today having a conversation with you, saying how thankful I am that I get to live this life that I never could have expected.
Yeah. Amen. I love that. God does have a plan in all things, and it's not worth looking back and regretting things that you can't change, but looking forward and looking at today and deciding what can I do today. So that's an inspiration. And I haven't finished your book yet, but I'm super excited. I'm enjoying it so far. And I mentioned to you, we were texting that I'm working on a book. I have aspirations of publishing a book one day so I'm very excited about that. And part of it is my story, God's used nearly dying during childbirth with our first. And that was 9 years ago, that was 9 years ago, like a week or two ago. And then going through some job losses and just having a lot of challenges along the way. But God's used all of those things. And I'm excited to share that with specifically working moms because the struggle that we have, it is just a constant balance. And there's a lot, to be able to manage and to do it well and not feel stress all the time. But part of that in my book is talking about the people you surround yourself with, your community, the people you're pouring into and speaking truth into your life and not just sticking, between your ears and listening to your own thoughts, because sometimes they can be destructive. And so I'm excited to share and, get some pointers from you because you've had this experience of writing a book and sharing it with the world. So appreciate, what you've done and excited to finish it too. So thank you.
Oh, 100%. So you should absolutely get it done. So many people start a book and they never finish it, but your story is unique to you. And that story will relate to so many people because we were designed to do life together. And it's a completely different experience. And when we can learn from each other through these experiences, maybe through the Fear to Fortune, maybe through whatever book you release, man, what a powerful testament to give us encouragement, to give us the confidence to take the next step. And that's really what it's about. It's not the end goal. It's not the end of the journey that we're like, hey, we're trying to hit this mark. It's, are you enjoying the journey now? Because you're going to be at that mark in a blink and you're going to look back and you don't want to be there with a bucket full of regrets because you missed the whole journey and you thought you were going to have this big fulfilling moment at the now. And I can tell you from experience, I've been blessed in my finances, in my freedom. It's not that. It's not that. I thought it was, and I worked my tail off to make money. And then it shifted at some point where I realized money was not filling that void as quick as I could pile cash into that hole. It was being consumed And now I wake up and say, hey, what do I get to do that I enjoy? Who can I help today? How can I help somebody else grow to the next level? That is fulfilling. Now you got to find that for you, but it's really about giving, which really has the reciprocation effect that comes back to you. Not that you give with the intent to give, but if you just give, wow, things happen. You know, there's an old, I think it's Zig Ziglar who said, if I can, all I need to do is help other people get enough of what they want, and I can have everything that I want. I just butchered that. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he was saying. So really, that's what it is. So recognize the journey, but man, go after it. Go after it. Get after it. Don't sit on the couch and waste all those hours with TV, because you got to work 8 hours just to be average, right? Yeah. So it's what you do after that that pushes a needle or puts you past the next person to really wake up one day and say, man, I have opportunity now. I have choice to do what I want. Yeah. That's where the true freedom comes from.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so good. Thank you for sharing that. Where can people find your book if they would like to order it?
Yeah, so you can find it on Amazon. You can either type in Shawn Gwaltney, and I know that's kind of a complicated last name. It gets butchered all the time, but I've had it for 53 years, so I'm used to it. But it is on Amazon. You can find more information on our website, and that's just ShawnGwaltney.com. You may need to spell that out for me because it's a tough one.
Put that in the notes.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So on there, and you can connect with me if there's anything of value that I can provide for anybody. I love helping people. So let me know.
Yeah, it's very evident. And I've experienced that in our conversations over the last few months. It's just been really, really nice to connect with you. And we're all on this journey together.
We are. We are.
Do what God has for each of us. And it looks a little different for each of us, but we all have overlap too. We have things that we all get to do together in furthering his kingdom and giving back to the world. So thank you for what you're doing to give back. And thank you for this time. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up today?
No, the only thing, well, I guess maybe one thing. I would just say, here's what you got to meditate on. You'll never reach the nirvana or the what you think is going to be the dream moment in your life if you're not really pushing now, because what you're doing today is what creates your tomorrow. So keep telling yourself what you're doing today is creating your tomorrow. Go after it. Don't sit on the sidelines because you really want to get excited in life, and you feel like you're kind of in a funk, which most people feel like they're in a rhythm, especially when they've got their families are raising all those people. It's because they're in the day-to-day repeat like Groundhog Day. Well, here's how you break that cycle. Do something different. Do something more that excites you about the potential of what it might create, because you just like to create some. Go create something. That's what it's really about. Awesome. And life changes. Your day-to-day changes. You'll wake up differently. And that's the start. See where it goes.
Yeah, that's so good. And invest in your education. Read. Like there's so many, like you said,
read.
I'm like, they are your coaches right there. Such a very inexpensive coach, but maybe go hire a coach. Maybe it's time to take yourself to the next level. Spend that money, spend the time, and invest in taking your business, yourself to a whole new level that you didn't even know existed. So thank you, Shawn. I appreciate you sharing today. It's so good to see you, and we wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me, Rebecca. It was a pleasure.